Hello and welcome along to Clare FM's Sideline View. It's Derek Lynch with you this evening. Coming up on the show, we'll hear from Katie Taylor after her visit to the county earlier this week ahead of what is now set to be a sellout in Croke Park on September 5th. We'll hear of this year's plans for the 2026 South of Ireland Championship at Lahinch Golf Club. We'll have a special day of football and music in Quilty. Alan Troy will have Greyhound Focus, and Cooraclare are the focus of this week's More Than a Club episode. But boxing is where we'll start this week, and after a morning when tickets were like gold dust for Katie Taylor's September 5th farewell bout in Croke Park, ahead of her showdown with Flora Peely on Jones's Road, with 80,000 people set to descend on GAA HQ for the event, the former Olympic champion took to the road on a nationwide tour to promote her final outing. That included coming here to Clare, where she spoke with Alan Morrissey, and we begin with her thoughts on this dream event eventually coming to pass.
It has been such a surreal few days. I think even a few weeks ago this was basically it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't possibilities, and to get the phone call from Brian a few days back to say that all the contracts are signed, it's a done deal. I just can't believe it. I actually have a chance to end my career in our most iconic venue. This is the stuff of fairy tales, really. And I first mentioned Croke Park I think maybe 4 years ago to Brian, and it was never really on the cards. It was never going to happen. And after my last fight, I said, Brian, it's a Croke Park or nothing for you. I'm going to hang up the gloves if I don't get Croke Park. And he gave me a ring back a few days later and said, okay, I'm going to give this Croke Park one last shot. And he actually got it over the line, and I can't believe it.
Yeah, it really will be an Irish cultural experience, Kate. And I know there have been a fair few wags since the fight was announced who've said that there have been plenty of fights at Croke Park over the years, albeit on the pitch in a football or hurling match. But the last actual boxing match was Muhammad Ali, some fella called Muhammad Ali against Alvin Blue Lewis 54 years ago.
Absolutely.
For you to be the next fight after that, after over 5 decades, must be an incredible feeling.
Yeah, it's very, very special. The last fight, like I said, was Muhammad Ali in 1972, and I get to follow in the greatest of all time's footsteps and fighting there in Croke Park in our most iconic venue. I'm pinched myself really over the last few days. I've been on this tour bus for the last few days, going around the country. I'm mortified, by the way, by that bus outside.
Katie had nothing to do with it. She didn't even know about it. She says, you're not expecting me to get into that thing.
We won't say it's understated.
Yeah, very subtle.
Originally I was trying to get Katie's face, like the old Viking ships. But
I mean, it's been an amazing few days, and actually publicising this fight. I can't believe that I'm in a position where I'm actually talking about Croke Park now. I have a fight date, but the most important thing for me in fight night is that I actually win the fight. This is not going to be an easy fight. I wanted a real fight for my last one. I didn't just want to walk over. I wanted a real challenge, and my opponent is an undefeated fighter. She's a young and hungry fighter, and I have to be at my very, very best to win this fight. There's so much excitement around the place right now, but I have a fight to prepare for, and I have to be at my very, very best to win it. And it's very important to me that I end my career well.
Yeah, so talk to us a little bit about Flora Peely then. Undefeated, 12-0, stepping into the breach after Sandy Ryan was made champion in recess because of her pregnancy. So what do you know of Flora Peely and the threat she possesses as a fighter? And this is a big step up in terms of everything.
I mean, it's like I said, she's 12-0. She's a number one challenger for the WBC title. She's also the IBO champion as well. She's a very, very good fighter, and one of the two things I wanted for my last fight was a fight in Croke Park, and I wanted a real fight, and so those two conditions were actually met. I got those two, and then it's going to be all guns blazing now for me over these next few months. I have to get my head down, I have to work hard, and I have to prepare for whatever comes my way on fight night. This is going to be a battle, and it's not going to be an easy one, and I have to basically lock myself away now for the next few months in preparation for this.
But this is a huge opportunity for Flora Peely as well, Katie, because this is a huge stage for her. One, she's never been in this magnitude. I don't even think she's even fought outside of France yet, has she? I mean,
all right,
so
you obviously know more than I do.
the opportunity to fight at Croke Park in front of a huge crowd, and the opportunity to potentially spoil your farewell party and boost her career. It's a huge carrot dangling at the end of the stick for her, and makes her really dangerous.
Definitely, and that's her opportunity. Her opportunity is to spoil the night for everybody. And like I said, she is younger. She's young and hungry. She's undefeated. She is coming to fight. She's coming to win. And so, like I said, I have to be at my very, very best to win this fight. but I'm super excited about it. These are the type of challenges that I absolutely love. I think for my whole career, I've always wanted to fight the best. I've always wanted to face the best and just challenge myself, and I have another opportunity to actually do that again on fight night in September the 5th.
The training and the preparation you'll do for this fight, how will it be different any other time? Obviously it's the last time you'll ever go through all of this. There's also, you haven't had a fight since July last year, winning the trilogy against Amanda Serrano, so it's a bit of a lengthy-ish layoff. Does that dictate or change anything about your preparation?
I don't think so. I mean, I've been in the gym constantly over this past year and a half since the Serrano fight. Most training camps are pretty much the same. A few little changes here and there in terms of how your body's feeling, but you're always going to have a great sparring, great pad work, but great bags. You're going to get great running sessions in. All of that's the same. Basically, you're just beating your body up every single week in preparation for battle, and I'm going to be putting my body through the trenches over these next few months. That allows me to go through the trenches of fight night if needed, and so the training camp part is actually the part that I actually love. You're getting sharper and sharper from week to week. You're challenging your body, your mind, your body from week to week as well, and just the fight's getting closer and closer. The nerves are building. All of that is just fantastic. I love the progress of a whole training camp. The worst part about boxing is all the interviews I have to do in between, but the training part and the
sorry about that.
the training part and the fighting is actually the best part.
Because I was going to ask you, knowing this is the last time you'll have to go through all of that, I'm sure there's some fighters who'll say, "Oh, thank God, I don't have to do that." As you say, beat your body up, but it sounds like you actually really enjoy it. So will you kind of miss an element of that competitive spirit within you? Will miss that training for a big bout?
I think I'm just going to give it my all one last time. And it really has been a long, tough journey. I think it is the right time to step out of sport and to step away, and I'm very content with that decision as well. I'm very happy with stepping out of sport, but my whole life basically has been one big training camp, and so it is going to be a nice time, and a nice time to reflect, even over the last 30 years since I've laced up a pair of gloves. As a kid, I dreamt of being an Olympic champion. That came to pass. As a pro, then I'm a headline in Madison Square Garden. I got a chance to, like Brian said, to fight on the undercard of Mike Tyson. Things I couldn't even dream of as a kid. And now here we are, finishing my career in Croke Park, our most iconic venue, and this is like a movie.
That's exactly what it is like. But even aside from all of those achievements, what you have done to raise the profile of women's boxing, the very fact we're talking about a women's fight at Croke Park, you fought at Madison Square Garden, you named all these iconic venues, it's through what you did, and your, I suppose, talent that convinced the IOC to make women's boxing a part of the Olympics, and then what you did there and your achievements, has raised the profile of women's professional boxing. Do you take pleasure out of that? Do you take pride? Or is that something, once you hang up the gloves, you'll sit back and rest on your laurels and go, yeah, that was all down to me?
Yeah, no, it's definitely not all down to me, but there's been plenty of other women as well along the way that have paved the way. But I'm very, very proud of the fact that I have been able to inspire a generation, and because when I started boxing as a 9 or 10 year old, there's no female fighters at all in any boxing gym in the country, but now you walk into any gym in this country, it's packed with female fighters. We have an amazing female boxing team, and that's something that I am very, very proud of. I think I'll sit back and reflect on everything after this last fight is done, but I think that is my greatest legacy, having a chance to inspire the next generation, and every female fighter that's fighting in the Olympic Games, I'm so proud of that. I'm so proud to see their success and to see them just competing for their countries in the Olympic Games. I fought for them in Chicago when I was fighting in front of the Olympic Committee, in the hopes that it will be approved that women will fight in the Olympic Games. I wasn't just fighting for myself that day, but I was fighting for every single female fighter who dreamt of going to the Olympic Games, and it's definitely something I'm very, very proud of.
And you're, an Irish icon to not just young girls, but touching back on what Brian said earlier on, and the age ranges of people who are going to be filling Croke Park, whether it's young, old, male, female, whether they've a huge interest in boxing, passing interest, they all look up to you. And we've seen the huge Irish crowds at London 2012, at your fights in the US and so on. You're clearly incredibly proud of being Irish. What has that meant to you? It's an individual sporting career, but you're representing your nation, and your nation has kind of backed you, and you will hope to do so again on the 5th of September.
Absolutely, and I definitely carry the Irish so proudly. Seeing all the tricolours around the world in Madison Square Garden, even in the XL Arena in London, I'm so proud of that. I love the fact that I'm from this nation and I get a chance to represent this country every single time I step into that ring, and I get a chance to do it one last time, and I cannot wait to hear the crowd, to hear the atmosphere, and to see all the tricolours around Croke Park on my final night. I think it's going to be an emotional walk to the ring, hearing that, just feeling the atmosphere, and just hearing the chants of Olé around the stadium one last time. It's going to be a remarkable night, and I just can't wait for it.
That was Katie Taylor there speaking to Clare FM's Anna Morrissey ahead of her September 5th showdown with Flora Peely in Croke Park. 80,000 people said to be there on her retirement night. What an occasion that promises to be. We're back shortly here on Sideline View. And you're welcome back to Sideline View. Well, what a brilliant occasion it was just under 12 months ago when Kilfenora's Jonathan Keane ended a 57-year wait for a local member to win the famed South of Ireland at Lahinch Golf Club. This year's event will take place next month from the 22nd to the 26th of July. It's set to be an extra special few weeks for the club, with the Walker Cup also taking place there on the 5th and 6th of September. Closing dates for entries for this year's South of Ireland is on Wednesday, June 24th, with Pierce Motors once again lending their support to the event. Ahead of that, Lahinch Golf Club captain John Gleeson spoke with Alan, beginning with outlining what's coming up for the club over the next while.
It's a big year, obviously, for Lahinch with the Walker Cup in September. And to put it in context, we're only the third Irish club to ever be given the honour of hosting the Walker Cup in over 100 years. So that really sets the tone for the year. But as we roll now into the South of Ireland, obviously always a special week for not just the members, the whole community, for Clare. And of course, I must reference last year's winner, our own Jonathan Keane, the first native winner since J.D. Smith back in '68. And we still vividly remember the excitement of his wonderful victory on the last green. So it sets up for him as defending champion. And can he do the double, which is nigh on impossible to do, but with Jonathan, you'd never know. But yes, it's a special South because of the Walker Cup in September. Virtually all, if not all, of the Walker Cup hopefuls will be teeing it up in Lahinch. So that brings the very best from Britain and Ireland, probably an additional 15 players over and above which we normally have. And these are obviously the stars of the future, but it makes a very special South. It will be very difficult to win. The winner, if he's in any contention for the Walker Cup, will in all likelihood be picked. So it heightens it not just for all the great players from Britain, but also our own Irish stars.
Okay, so a huge amount on offer, John. But then, as you say, that adds to the pressure that can be on those competing in the tournament. And as I mentioned earlier, it's the 124th edition of the South of Ireland Amateur Open, which in itself alludes to the fact it has a long and illustrious history. What makes it such a special tournament, in your view?
Well, the South was the oldest championship, obviously, from 1895. And it's really the history of it, I think, but a little more than just the history. Every good player would love to win the South. And every good player doesn't. But we go back to the John Burkes, the J.B. Carrs, and more laterally, the stars who have won in recent years. But I suppose it's the history, but it's also the community. You know, the players love to come here. They love the feel of the village. We look after them very well. The course is always in pristine condition, and that kind of heightens the interest from a player perspective to play on such a great golf course, but in perfect condition. But I suppose ultimately it's the history of it, and to have a South on your CV if you are a top-class amateur is a very special thing indeed.
Yeah, the fact that it is a prestigious competition, and as you've mentioned, Walker Cup selection looming shortly after the championship too, it really adds to, I guess, what the high stakes of it. You've said this year's field could be one of the strongest ever assembled. What makes you so confident about the quality of the competition we'll see? And is it because there's the added incentive of Walker Cup selection?
Yeah, it's definitely what makes this South different. And in fact, I would say it's not probably, it definitely will be the strongest field ever assembled here. And it's the fact that all of these future stars, many of them will go on to be to the pro game, and in the past, winners of the South like Graham McDougall, Pádraig Harrington, Paul McGinley. Sorry, I said Pádraig Harrington. Pádraig actually lost in 2 finals. He did win an Irish close here. But Darren Clark, Paul McGinley, all of these who went on to be great players have won the South. So in all likelihood, whoever wins it this year will probably go to a similar professional path. But they all want to have a South on their CV as they turn professional. But the quality of what you're going to see here, every year it's obviously very high because all the best of what Ireland has to offer. But the quality does up the fact that we get the best players from Britain as well. And the golf that will be on show, we generally get very good crowds for the South, and obviously we'll be very busy for a Walker Cup. But if you want to see up close and personal, top-class golf, Lahinch that week, particularly in the latter part of the week with the quarterfinals, which are played on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday, the semi-finals and finals. If you want to see good golf up close and personal, this is the place to be, and this obviously is a special year.
Yeah, certainly sounds like there's going to be a lot riding on it, and it's always a major occasion in West Clare. How important are the members, the volunteers in the local community in making the championship a success? Because it's great for the course, it's great for golf, but I'd imagine just for the locality, having all of this happen, and it acts in a way as a very significant dress rehearsal for the Walker Cup as well.
Yeah, well, we're well used to big events here in Lahinch. Obviously, the one that in recent memory, the Irish Open in 2019, won by John Ram, and all the excitement that generated, which has flowed over the last 7 years to certainly increased interest in Lahinch. But for the members in the local community, the South is a very special week. As I say, it's the history of the South. Everybody looks forward to it. If we can get at the latter stages, some of our own members, could we replicate what Jonathan did last year, 57 years after the last time? That's what really heightens the interest from the members and from the locality. It's not just from a business perspective. Obviously, it's very important, and Lahinch stays at the forefront of golf because it's not just for the club or the members, it's the wider community, and how important Lahinch Golf Club is for the wider community, and all of the employment and the secondary employment that goes with that is very important as well. So while we're always focused on it's golf, it's the golf club, there are wider issues at play as well.
The closing date for entries is the 24th of June?
24th, so we're nearly there. Most of the top players that we expect have already entered, but there's still a couple of weeks left before it's actually closed. But we kind of know where we're at, and we're certainly well set for a great South.
Okay, it sounds like it's going to be absolutely fantastic, and with it being followed so closely by the Walker Cup, I mean, Lahinch Golf Club has a long and storied history, but could 2026 prove to be one of the most significant years, all going well, in the club's history?
Yeah, I think it inevitably will, because notwithstanding the Great Irish Open in 2019, the history of Lahinch is more of amateur golf. And to be given by the RNA the honour of hosting, as I say, for only the third time an Irish club to be given this honour is very significant. But on a worldwide scale, it's very important as well. The Walker Cup in America is really, really big news, as is amateur golf in America is still very big news. And we have, of course, for the Walker Cup for the 2 days, live television, Golf Channel and CBS in America, and Sky Sports here, and that's very important as well. So it's a celebration of amateur golf, but it's still a very important team competition, because it is America against Britain and Ireland, the American nation against our two nations, and the history of that is what makes the Walker Cup such a great event. It is the world's premier amateur event, and for us to have it. And in September, hopefully, we'll get some nice weather, which we're not always guaranteed here. But it would be nice, but at the same time, testing weather maybe like today with a good strong breeze to see these great players close up in competition, I think will make it a very special year for Lahinch.
Captain of Lahinch Golf Club, John Gleeson there, speaking to Clare FM's Alan Morrissey. That's ahead of next month's South of Ireland Championship. Now, this Saturday in Park Navera in Quilty, it will be alive to the sound of football and music indeed, as Kilmurray Brick Club remembers one of its great stalwarts, a man that was always affectionately known as the stadium manager, Patrick Wickham, who sadly passed away. He will be remembered through two of his favourite mediums indeed, football and music, this Saturday. Kilmurray Chairman Michael Constantine is with us on the line to look ahead to it, and I suppose as well, Mike, have a chat about the man that we knew as Stadium, a fantastic character. I think anybody that was around the day of his send-off when the hearse drove down into the pitch, down along by the stand, that he had spent so many hours in, just such a poignant moment and a fantastic way to remember him.
For sure, yeah, for sure. He left a massive hole in our club, in fairness, because any time you went to the pitch, Patrick was there to greet you, and he was always there on hand. And as you said, that evening that the hearse came up through the grounds with the crowds that turned out, it was really emotional, and he's been a severe loss to our club and our community. In fairness to him, he was an outstanding character.
One of those people that makes a club tick and is there at the drop of a hat. Anyone that would have been driving through Quilty any hour of the night or morning, no matter how late or early, it was always likely to see him walking up towards the field to do something.
Yeah, he just loved it, in fairness. He spent 15 years as caretaker after he came home from the UK, and Patrick was as good for us as we were for him. It really gave him a great outlet, a social outlet, and he really, really enjoyed. He loved it. He had time for everybody. It didn't matter. He knew everyone's name, all the underage boys, girls, senior ladies, senior men. He knew everybody, and everyone knew him. As half the people probably didn't know his name was Patrick, because everyone just called him stadium manager. So yeah, he was really affectionate guy, and he was really approachable, and he couldn't do but help any way he could. And as you said, any time of the night, and he could vouch for this himself. He was around. He got calls from me at unsavoury hours for sure. Anyway, about stuff at the pitch. Yeah, and the same as that, any time that we were doing live broadcasts from there, if we're going anywhere else, I'd ring him and he'd leave in the gear for you somewhere nice and safe, and you'd know to be there when you came back later that evening, or even gathering up clothes after cool camps. I had an experience of that as well, where my young fella left a jumper after him, and 2 days later I got a phone call from Stadium saying, I have it here for you. So he was always thinking of others. He was great, in fairness to him, and he really, really, really was a good guy. And as I said already, he's left a massive hole. It's actually two years, Bank Holiday Monday now, since he passed away, and really miss him, because I would have been daily on the phone to him, maybe 3 or 4 times some days. And his famous quote, "I'll get that done for you." That was his famous words, that when you'd ask him to do something, that was his reply to you, "I'll get that done for you." So that was always a two over and back between us. It was a bit of fun, and he was a great character, and he was really jolly. And as I said already, yeah, we still feeling the effects of his loss. Yeah, I can still remember being at several AGMs where you'd be going down through your list of officers, and there'd just be a nod to the back of the room, "Stadium, you'll do another year," and that was it. He was elected elected unopposed every single year for that particular job. Talk to us a little bit then about this tournament that has been, I suppose, drafted in his memory, and how it all came about. In fairness now, an awful lot of work has gone in by our minor committee to setting up this, but it's an under-13 tournament where there's teams from Clare, Limerick and Kerry playing it, and basically it's a festival of fun. As you said earlier in your introduction piece, it's football and music, what he really loved. And there's Dr. Crokes are coming from Kerry, who we would have a great affiliation with, who we travel down to the Colm Cooper under-13 Invitational every year in September. So it's Crokes are coming, Tarbert are coming, Monaleen are coming, and we've teams from Clare as well. So yeah, hopefully the weather will shine bright for us, and there'll be loads of football for the young lads to enjoy, and then there'll be a bit of Irish music after to finish off the evening. Yeah, because that was another huge passion of his, and I know that regular listeners of the West Wind here on Clare FM, particularly Thursday night when Ronan Burke is in the hot seat, he'll often play Patrick in some shape or other. Yeah, he was. It was coming to his time of the year now, Patrick, and he really, really loved the Willie Clancy week. He was meeting all the musicians coming. Everybody knew him, and they used to have their sessions and going. He really was a fanatical Irish music man, and And so hopefully we'll have a bit of music on Saturday even to honour him.
Yeah, and a lovely community feel to this. I know there's matches going on right across the day. I think starting out at 10 or half 10, and hopefully finals somewhere in the afternoon between 3 and 4 or thereabouts. But I suppose it's something that the whole community will row in behind, because as you mentioned, he was kind of known to everyone.
He was known to everybody, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The whole community will come out. I guarantee you there'll be big crowd of Park Nevera on Saturday, and rightfully so. In fairness, he deserves this, and there will be a full day's activity. As you said, there'll be football right from the morning to the evening, and then we'll have a bit of music, and there should be a good atmosphere. And as I said, hopefully the sun shines, and if it does, it'll really add to the occasion.
Yeah, it certainly will. Great day planned, and we wish the very best of luck to everybody involved there. Michael, thanks for taking the time to have a chat with us. Time now for Greyhound Focus and Alan Troy.
Clare FM's Greyhound News with Galway Greyhound Stadium. The ultimate night out for hens and stags. Enjoy racing and a choice of dinner or group admission packages.
Good evening and welcome to this week's Greyhound Focus. From Galway Greyhound Stadium, the Donny Duggan from Tulla-trained Laois Lightning blew his opponents away in the final of the Anne Cheevers Memorial A3 525-yard stake with an impressive and career-best 28-78 victory. This was a 16th career success for this son of Ballymac Anton and Old Treasure, and he is owned by Gordon Vaughan, who is based in Castlegar, Galway, and is a native of Ennistimon. Blaze Buck made it 2 wins on the bounce for Tony Brigdale from Innis with a 29-15 victory in an A3 graded contest. He's a son of Pestana and Speedy Bella. And after a sabbatical of 6 months, Ballyea Jet made a winning return in an S4 graded contest for Noel Gavin from Ballyea. Trained and got by Albert Mullins, the son of JT Jet and Seekers Vision, stopped the clock in 1926 to claim career win number 15. That's all for this week, folks. Slán agus beannacht.
Clare FM's Greyhound News with Galway Greyhound Stadium. The ultimate night out for hens and stags. Enjoy racing and a choice of dinner or group admission packages.
Alan, thanks very much indeed for that. Up next here on Sideline View, we're talking to the famed Miletians.
This feature, More Than a Club, is funded by Commission na Man with the television licence fee.
Next up in our More Than a Club series, we are turning our focus west. And we've often heard great descriptions of this particular parish and indeed club. I think Suburban Cree is one of our favourite descriptors of Cooraclare, which is the club we're focusing on at the moment, and also a club with a rich history in both men's and women's football, which we are delighted to be profiling in both senses. Who better to do that than two people that are very familiar to you as Clare FM Sport listeners in Joe Gary and Anne-Marie Cannon. Guys, thanks so much for having a chat with us to come in. Anne-Marie, I'll start with yourself because the man over here has been involved, I suppose, in both the men's and ladies' side of the house in terms of success. But I suppose as a club, is it fair to say Cooraclare have really embraced the whole thing of this is our club?
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose starting out for when the club was formed in 1988 by Peggy Kelly and Maureen Synan, affectionately known as Na, they founded the club, and I suppose it has grown from strength to strength from there. I suppose if you look at the county senior championships, there's been 9 won in total in 94, 96, 98, 99, 2001, 2002, 2004, 2006 and 2007. And I suppose we've won 1 intermediate in 2020, and at the moment we have 2 teams at senior level. We have an intermediate and a junior B, and I suppose there's lots of work being done underage as well, you know, to keep the club going, which is brilliant.
Joe, Cooraclare Men's Club, give us the rundown.
Cooraclare Men's Club, founded, one of the oldest founders clubs in the association, founded way back in 1885, and of course that was well documented by a great book that the late Michael Chambers wrote called The Miletians, and which documents the link, I suppose, and why the club is labelled the Miletians. That came out in the centenary year of 1984. Cooraclare were centenary cup champions that year, went on to win the Cusie Cup the following year, and then the championship, and that championship was championship number 9, going back to the first one, which was in 1915. and then of course in 1997 Cooraclare had their 10th. So in terms of the roll of honour county-wide, Cooraclare have 10 men's, 9 ladies, and that's kind of unmatched to a degree by anybody else. So it just shows what football means to a parish like ours. The parish is called Kilmacduan, the 2 villages of Cooraclare and Cree. Up to not that long ago there was 3 schools in the parish in Cooraclare, Cree and Clanbeg, and very much everything centred around the GA club, as is the case in many, many rural parishes.
Yeah, that link, or the Miletians, will you give us the history of that? Because I've often mentioned it and people will be asking, and I can't answer because I don't know, so maybe give us all the
the Miletians were an old Celtic warrior group that, by all accounts had settled in the area way back, and for some reason then, I think it was around the 1906, and they were involved in Redmond Cup finals, they were known at the time, back against the Milltown boys. The Miletian name stuck to the parish, and it's the crest as well. It's on the crest of the ladies, it's on the crest of the men's, the Miletian club, and the motto that goes with the crest is Dóchas to Dúchas. So it's that hope and that pride in the heritage that we have. So no more than any rural club, the GA club, Park Cooraclare, is the centre of most of the activities every weekend and indeed every night of the week. It's something to be hugely proud of, something I suppose that affects almost every house in the parish at some stage or other, and we get great support from the parish, great support from all the different committees. We work a one club model with the Ladies Football Club, the Rosa Clare, of course, central part of that as well, the Lotto Committee, the Field Committee, we've a score, we've an Irish Cultural Language Committee, so there's lots of happening in the club, and it's something I suppose that once you're grown into it, it becomes, maybe an addiction, even an affliction at times, but it's part and parcel of who we are.
And we'll delve into more of that in just a while, but Anne-Marie, that one club model, that idea of it being all about the parish, like how important is that in terms of the support that every side of the house gets?
Yeah, I suppose it's absolutely crucial, and I suppose that it starts at primary school level and getting kids involved in sport and football at a young age and nurturing that love of sport and love of football. And I suppose there's lots of families involved within the club, and that's absolutely huge. And I suppose that there's parents bringing kids to the field now that would have been playing down through the years, and it's lovely to see, and they're involved in coaching as well. But it's really, really important that everyone is included and having fun as well. And
I'm always slow to kind of name names, but I suppose when you look at both clubs, for fear we'd leave anybody out, there have been some very, very high profile people that have gone on to represent the county and beyond. Yeah, and I suppose when you look at the 9 senior championships, you have to mention Eve Chambers, a daughter of Marion Chambers and the late Bill Chambers, who was part of the teams for the 9 of those. And I suppose as well you have to mention Etna Morrissey, an All-Star winner in 1996 and 2001. And I suppose 1996 was a historical year for Cooraclare. I know Joe was involved in that they won the senior championship, the league, Munster B and Munster A. They went on to the final, they beat Ballymacarbery, the club in Waterford, by a point after extra time. And I suppose they were going for 8 in a row that time, so that was huge. They went on into the semi-final, and they were beaten by 1 point by Chamaliers in Wexford, but that was a historical year and everyone still talks about it. And I suppose just going on to 2001, where they won the Munster Senior Championship, Clare did for the first time, and Etna was captain, so they won that against Waterford. So I suppose those 2 girls have been there. Etna has 7 out of the 9 championships. She was travelling for 2 of those, but they'd be names and they're involved in the club at the moment coaching, so it's wonderful to see. Yeah, and John, on the men's side of things, obviously a lot of high profile representatives. A lot of high profile, I go back to Pan O'Brien back, way back in the 15, 17, 18 championships. He was, very well known. Noel Crowley was obviously a star player in the 40s, of course. And then in 1992, there was a gentleman by the name of Tom Morrissey who played a leading role when Clare won that senior football championship. And like I said, Etna, and I'd have to mention Etna, one of the best players that Clare has ever produced in men's or ladies football. Our current crop, of course, we'd have to give honourable mention to the man who led UL to their first ever Sigerson title in Brian McNamara. What a gifted footballer we have. We've had produced over the years some excellent midfielders. Brian is the latest in a long line of those, and of course he's a gifted hurler as well, we have to mention. But in terms of the footballing ability that's there, the beauty I suppose of it is that there's 3 adult teams there now, there's 2 in the ladies, so anybody that wants to get an opportunity to be involved in the club, be it in the fundraising side of the club, be it in the Rosa Clare, which is a central part of the club, be it in Irish Score, which is very big, we're probably
arguably the leading club in Clare in terms of score. So there's plenty to get involved in, and it's central to everyday tenets of life in the parish.
Now, give us your own background in the Gary household and just how entwined in football you were.
Yes, well, we were born and reared into it. My father was secretary of the club for 14 years when we were growing up, and he was obviously a former county player and county manager as well. So since an early age, it was off to County Clare football matches and hurling matches to a degree, but football primarily. We're football people, and always have been. I got involved myself between playing football for the club and coaching at the county team and managing the minors and 20s and things like that. So it's part and parcel of who we are, and every year the first thing you do is you look at the National Football League programme, see where we're going. We're going to every, obviously in my role as analyst now with Clare FM over the years, it's a different, it's a different hour than what you'd normally be shouting on the lads from the sideline, but still the pride is there. And often people find it difficult, Derek, to understand, how we would be so passionate about football, be it club or be it county, but it's what you're brought into. And I would always say that Clare football is just part and parcel of who we are. Club football is part and parcel of who we are, and I think we're all the better for it.
And Marie, a similar story from yourself. You're fairly ensconced in it.
Yes, I suppose my dad would have played football for Cooraclare for many years. He's championships in 64 and 65, and there's a rumour going around that he played Junior B when he was 49, so he has a love of the football. And I've uncles that played with Kilmurray Bricken from my mum's side, and it's
that's where it came from.
Yeah, and I suppose myself, my sister Patricia and Sheila would have heavily been involved in the club. I was lucky enough, and Tricia was lucky enough, to be part of the 2002, 2004, 6 and 7 winning championship teams, and Sheila would have won minors up along, and I suppose it was very special in our house, and we really enjoyed it. And we do the tournament now in memory of Sheila, who loved her club, and it's a great way to give back to the community, and the volunteers and everything have been brilliant. But yeah, we've been highly involved in sport, and my role as analyst as well in the last couple of years with Clare FM has been wonderful. And there's a few of the retirees gone back playing Junior B, which is brilliant. So we're all we're reeling back the years and having good fun at the same time.
Winning a championship is always special, but to do it with a sibling beside you, like how much extra special was it?
Yeah, it's very special, and lots of lovely memories. Sheila would have been on the 2006 and 7 panel as well, so the three of us, I suppose, had medals, and we lined out together at minor level, which was lovely. We were in the full forward line, so that's very, very special as well. And
you mentioned Sheila, people will know her story. Sadly passed away a number of years ago. I'm just wondering, in terms of, I suppose, the way the club would put their arms around you in a way like that. The GAs often, and LGFA are often maybe pilloried from a top level executive position, but I always say to people, there's nearly two GAs really. There's the corporate GA, if you want to call it that, and then there's the local community GA. And that kind of support is really unique, especially in a country setting.
Oh yeah, it's something we'll never forget, like the tournaments that we did. And the amount of volunteers and work that was involved. Joe was part of our committee there, and everyone just rallied together, and it was really successful. We wanted to help people with CF in Clare, and give back to them, and a lot of them can't work, and the money we raised over 100,000 over the last number of years since 2017. And I suppose it just shows how club is everything, and that we're really appreciative of everything that has been done.
Wow, 2017 doesn't seem that long ago, does it?
No.
Yeah, crazy. Joe, from your point of view, obviously winning a senior championship for Cooraclare would have been special, but I suppose yours extra special in a way, in that it was that day above in Carron against the neighbours, kind of a unique enough final. A unique final given the setting, certainly in Glunkisog, and it was a fine day above it, and I think it was the 4th of November that county final was played. And that time, Derek, as you know, it was knockout championship, so you could be training for a good portion of the year, and you might end up with one game in the championship. So you have to make the most of it. We started off slowly that campaign. We very fortunate to beat Corofin in the opening round by a point. On the day that Corofin missed everything, that they could possibly miss. We drew with Innistimon the next day out, beat him in a replay, drew with Faulkness the next day out, beat him in a replay, and then met the mighty Dunbeg. And they were a powerful Dunbeg side at the time. They only lost one game in those 5 years. Having won the 2 championships before us, won the 2 after us, including a Munster club. They were, a powerful side. But obviously, with the rivalry was there. We're bordering parishes, and there'd be a great bit of bite between the parishes at the time, and we came out on top on that occasion. And it's a great memory to have, as you say. My brother Don was playing with us in the team. Declan, my older brother, got injured and headed off to Australia. So and we were, it's a memory we will always cherish. But it's part and parcel. You those people that helped the club up along through the ages, be it schools, be it underage football, and I don't think that at times they get enough of credit, because people would see the team that won and maybe they don't see
outside of that, or management teams outside of that, but there was a huge amount of people over the years that have influenced the club and influenced in a very positive way in Cooraclare. So that still is there. We still have volunteers willing to take on the different roles, still the development of the pitch, still running the Rose of Clare, still running the Lotto, still running all the different aspects that make up a club in a rural parish. And as I say, the Sky Blues will, once you're Sky Blue, you're Sky Blue forever.
And like the thing of the GA club being that immediate support network, I know it's not unique to any particular parish, it's county wide, but like when something goes wrong or you need something, invariably it's going to be either the chairman or secretary will ring to say, can you help us with this? Can you do it?
Yeah, and you see that at the best of times, obviously, when Clare are going well or the club is going well, but you also see it in the worst of times. And it's not that long ago the Clare GA fraternity, Clare football fraternity had tragedies, and every club rallied to the cause, to the family involved, which was a terrible tragedy in our Clare. And that's the beauty of the GA in that sense, that even at the worst of times the GA rallies together. We're part and parcel. We love to hear of handball going well, we love to hear the hurlers going well, but the football has that extra special meaning. And sometimes we get carried away with that. We've great victories, and a lot of the time we've defeats, but if we were the quitting type, Derek, we'd have quit long ago. So we keep going.
100%. And Marie, you mentioned there about some retirees coming out to play back in the Junior B levels, and also the former players with the new breed of young girls that want to play the game. Like, isn't it fantastic that there's that constant regeneration?
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Like, the Lilith sisters are back, and there's lots of girls that would have played years ago that are coming back out of retirement, and I suppose it's lovely for the younger girls to see that. And even one of them mentioned not so long ago that the encouragement that the older girls give to the younger girls is very, very special. And I suppose we're lucky to have enough numbers for the intermediate and the Junior B team. We're hoping to get a few more maybe back before the summer is long yet, but this is the third year now that we've been entering at Junior B, and we lost the league final by a goal to Kildysart, who are now up to Junior A, but like, it was a great experience and we're all really enjoying it, and that's what it's all about.
And how integration, Derek, integration has been a word that's bandied about with a long number of years, but it's been very integrated in Cooraclare for a long time. The ladies of football, and as Anne-Marie has said, it's very much a family orientated club, so we see that particularly, we've a Cushta Cultura in Cooraclare with the Score, and we have ladies football entries often going up against the men's football entries in different competitions, but very much a family based club where everybody, no matter what Sky Blue team go out, will get the support. So in terms of integration, I would like to think that Cooraclare certainly has led the way long before it became a national movement.
And underage, Anne-Marie, in the club at the moment, numbers are strong and good?
Yes, they are. I know at under 10 and 12 level, maybe not so much, but definitely at under 6 and 8 we have really good numbers. 16s and minors 16 contested at the county final last week. They were lucky after extra time not to get the victory in that, but I suppose like the 16s and minors teams are going to be feeding off into the intermediate and the Junior B team, so like that's where you need to keep the girls at under 16 level, because there is a dropout rate. So if you can keep them playing after under 16 level, it's a bonus after that. And I suppose there's been great work being done in the neighbouring schools and in the club, and that's what it's all about.
And Joe, on the men's side of the house, obviously last year's county final defeat to Corofin would have been disappointing, wanting to get back to those senior ranks, but there have been minor and 21 successes along the way, and we've seen on inter-county panels at minor and 20 Cooraclare feature strongly, so good hopes for the future.
Good hopes for the future. There's a good vibe there at the moment as we prepare for the intermediate championship, still very much in the league contention, and the lads are working hard. There's a great unity of purpose there. Obviously Martin Daly from Lissy Casey is the manager at the moment, but in terms of the squad, you couldn't ask for a more dedicated crew. They really have each other's backs. They work hard for one another, and their time will come. Hopefully it'll be this year, but if it isn't, it will come. I have no doubt about that. The talent and the work is going in. The talent is there, the work is going in, so it's a matter of being patient at times, but last year's defeat will sting, and it might be no bad thing. It should drive them on as they prepare for this year's championship.
Maybe it's a broader question, but if the GA essentially were to do maybe one or two things to help the continued development, particularly of rural areas, to keep the GA club going, is there anything that sticks out for you that might be something that could be done?
Well, are you talking about in terms of standard, in terms of participation?
I suppose in an overall sense, what can be done to make sure that in 10 years' time there's still that strong base in every parish in the county?
Yeah, well, I do think at times that there is more often we concentrate on the football field, and that's understandable. But I think there's so much more that the GA could offer. I'd love to see a bit more visibility in terms of national media. That's a bigger in terms of club profiling and things like that, and maybe TG Carrick might lead the way in that. I think that in terms of amalgamations, clubs being encouraged to play as high a level as possible while also maintaining their own club's identity. Let it be down in sea level if required, because numbers will dictate that. Because nowadays it's not like Fado when it was a big journey to go. Nowadays most people have access to travel, and players play an awful lot of schools football together. So there's a lot of opportunities there to mix it up. And obviously I'd love to see a West Clare College's team emerge. I think would be another step forward for the likes of the clubs back west, and indeed for Clare football in general.
Yeah, and I suppose, Emery, one thing I forgot to mention is that we've seen a number of ladies football clubs having to take a little bit of a sabbatical at times just because of numbers, but maybe that's why it's so important and really encouraging to hear you saying that your sixes and eights are very strong at the moment, because that is your conveyor belt forward.
Yeah, that's your foundation. Like, that's where you're doing the fundamental movements, to get them going for under 10s and when it gets to competitive level at under 14. So I suppose it is really important that you keep them playing and keep the fun aspect. I was below training them last week, and you can't go straight into drills. You have to show the fun aspect of football as well, and getting their friends involved. And yeah, it's really, really important to build it from there. And I suppose just to keep them involved in sport.
Yeah, it's a mess, and I know in your professional life as well, it's something that's very, very important too. And you've had a load of really, really good initiatives. I suppose that youth involvement, because they are the next secretary, chairman, county star, whatever it might be.
Yeah, exactly. I suppose with me being in Kilrush, Cooraclare is one of the feeder clubs, and we've had quite a lot of success this year, and a lot of it's coming from the neighbouring clubs and the work that's being done in the school as well as in the clubs as well. So that's absolutely crucial. And for West Clare, as Joe said, West Clare is the home of football, and we need to keep it that way.
So. And I know that the likes of these future leader programs and stuff like that, you've seen it firsthand, obviously. Is that a way of encouraging the youth to take ownership of these? Because there's roles for everybody.
Yeah, so I suppose we started out with the Future Leader programme 2 years ago, and we did it 2 years in a row, and we got gold the first year and silver the second year. And we had a class of 24, and not all of them played sport, but you're showing your leadership skills, you're showing your communication skills, your motivational skills. There's a job for everyone on the day of a blitz. If you have 6 or 7 feeder primary schools coming in, there's a job for everyone. And I suppose the ones that didn't play sport really stood up. Like they might have been writing a piece for the school newsletter, or they might have been even something as simple as making tea and coffee for the coaches and for the referees, and getting doing little interviews after with the teachers that were coming in. And I suppose the TY Future Leaders Programme is a nationwide, and it's grown from year to year. And I suppose if more schools can implement it, we'll get more leaders out of it, and that's to the betterment of the clubs.
Yeah, I think it's a good Clareman in Owen Henley, or certainly very strong Clare connections that has got that underway. So that's fantastic altogether. Maybe even part of the Future Leaders would be to find the next Joe Gary for the radio, or the next Emery Cannon. You just wouldn't know.
Certainly well due to change it, anyway. So you talk about pride of place, Derek, and every club, I suppose, is their anthem. In ours it's the Chapel Gates, and it's known far and wide. And when you were growing up as a young lad, and any success, it didn't matter what success it was on the field, it could be down the divisions or up the divisions or county senior championship win, just to hear the Chapel Gates being sung as the cup was accepted, I think it's something special for every young lad, for everyone. Even today, you'd have great pride when you'd hear or see a Cooraclare player, be they male or female, boy or at boys or at men's or at ladies level, whatever it would be, to see and hear the Chapel Gate being belted out.
Yeah, and it has been that focal point as well for those celebratory moments, hasn't it?
It certainly has, down through the years. Peggy Kelly, God be good to her, used to give it a great rendition, and of course Gerard Kelly has done it in the past,
and Marty Marnan as well.
Marty Marnan will always be associated with, and it's just mighty. Grania, of course, can do a rare rendition of it as well, and it's just something we will always have, and hopefully we will something we have always had, and something hopefully we always will have.
Yeah, and you'll be hoping to have it many times as well in 2026. Joe and Emery, thanks so much for joining us on More Than a Club.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This feature, More Than a Club, is funded by Commission Naman with the television licence fee.
And we will have much more chats to come with clubs across the county over the coming weeks. But that is all we have time for here on this week's Sideline View. Just to let you know, if you haven't heard by now, Clare are the Kennedy Shield champions for 2026 after a 3-0 win over Dundalk. That was in this afternoon's final down in UL. 2 goals there for Callum Buckley and 1 for Brodie Lenan as they saw off the Louth outfit. So it caps off a fantastic week for the group. We might hope to get a chat with a couple of them to come on Monday evening's Sideline View review, so do stay tuned for that. Stay tuned here this evening as well, because the West Wind is up next with the best of Irish traditional music and song until 9 o'clock. Enjoy the rest of your Friday evening.